Hi, in this video, we are going to be learning about geometry, more specifically, area and volume. Shapes can be large or small, and a way to compare them and to learn about them is to find their areas. Area is the size of a two-dimensional surface. A two-dimensional object refers to the two dimensions, length and width, flat like a piece of paper. Every shape has a formula to find its area. Formulas are tools that allow you to plug in information to find an answer. The components of the aquaponics system come in multiple different shapes, and that is what we will use for examples in today's video. The biological filter is a rectangular prism with a square base. The square is 18 inches long by 18 inches wide. The equation for the area of a square is a side multiplied by another side. Because all the sides are equal in a square, you can also write the equation as a side squared. So for the biological filter, its area is 18 times 18, or 18 squared, which gives you 324. Another important part of finding area is the units. 324 inches is very different from 324 feet, so you have to be specific which one it is. Because you multiply two dimensions, length and width, the units have to be the same. For example, both inches or feet to get a correct answer. The units also have to be squared when finding area, so you would write the area of the biological filter as 324 inches squared. Finding the area of a rectangle is very similar. You multiply the length by the width, but in a rectangle, the length and the width are different, so you can't just square a side. The physical filter is 39 inches long by 20 inches wide, so 39, the length, times 20, the width, is 780 inches squared. Circles are a little bit more complicated. The diameter of a circle is a measurement of a straight segment that passes through the center of the circle. The radius is half the diameter. Pi is a constant that is used to find the area and the circumference of a circle. Pi goes on forever, but is often approximated at 3.14. The equation for the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. The nitrification tank has a diameter of 21 inches. To find the radius, we will divide the diameter by 2. 21 divided by 2 is 10.5 inches. Then we will square that number, giving us 110.25. Lastly, we will multiply 110.25 by pi. Most calculators have a pi button that will give you a more accurate answer, but if you don't have that, you can just multiply by 3.14. This will give you approximately 346.36 inches squared. Let's practice with one more example. The fish tank has a 6-foot diameter, which means it has a 3-foot radius. 3 squared is 9, times pi is approximately 28.27 feet squared. Another important thing to find in circles is circumference. Circumference is the outside of a circle, almost like the perimeter of a square or a rectangle. The equation for circumference is 2 times pi times radius. Our fish tanks have a 6-foot diameter or a 3-foot radius. 2 times pi times 3 equals approximately 18.85 feet. Three-dimensional shapes measure by their length, width, and height. The degassing tank is a cylinder that has a 30-inch diameter and is 52 inches tall. The equation is pi times the radius squared times the height. 30 divided by 2 is 15, which is the radius of the cylinder. So the final equation would be pi times 15 squared, which is 225 times 52. The final answer is approximately 36,756.62 inches cubed. Another cylinder in the aquaponics system is the tank that holds the fish. It has a diameter of 6 feet and is 3 feet tall. So pi times 3 squared, which is 9 times 3. This equals 84.82 feet cubed. Volume is useful to compare with other objects. Within the fish tank, you can find 3 different volumes: the volume of the water it can hold, the volume of the water it actually does hold, and the volume that isn't full. We already found the volume of the water that the tank can hold, so let's find the volume of the water the tank actually holds. The tank is 3 feet tall, but the water is only filled to 2.5 feet. So using the same equation, we would multiply pi by 9, the radius squared, by 2.5. This equals 70.68 feet cubed. To find out how much space is not filled with water, we can subtract the first volume by the second volume. The first volume is 84.82 subtracted by 70.68, which is 14.14 feet cubed, which gives you our final volume. In the aquaponics center, a hose fills up the fish tanks. You can find how much volume of the tank that the hose will fill in a certain amount of time. Calculation of a volume of a tank, we first have to determine the area of the opening of the hose. Remember, the formula for calculating the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So if we have a big hose that is 1 foot in diameter, then the area of the opening of the hose is calculated by 0.5 squared times pi, which gives you 0.78 feet squared. Now, if we were calculating the volume of a tank, we would use the height of the tank, but in a hose, water is moving, so the third dimension can be represented by velocity, the speed of the water moving through. Velocity is distance moved in a certain time. For example, if a horse goes 30 miles in 1 hour, the velocity would be 30 miles per hour. Water in a hose is measured in feet traveled in 1 second, or feet per second. Water in our hose has a velocity of 5 feet per second, then the volume of water coming out of the hose in 1 second will be the area of the opening of the hose, 0.78 square feet, the area of the opening of the hose, which we found above, times 5 feet per second, the velocity, times 1 second, the time, equals 15.7 cubic feet. In a minute, 60 seconds, the volume of water moving through the hose will be 15.7 cubic feet times 60 seconds, which equals 942 cubic feet. Doing this allows you to find out how much volume of the tank that the hose will fill.